Did you know it was going there? There we have it.
How about that?
Happy 2022. We're still in 2022. Happy hour, man.
We just got here. It's not still. But
hey, man, I follow a Twitter account that tweets the percentage of the year that we're through already.
Yeah.
And it's like 5%.
Wow.
It's just like, whoa, man, slow down.
It was quick.
Like,
slow down. Yeah.
Yesterday was 2020, but sheesh. Anywho, how you doing, man? What's up?
Doing well. I mean, it's cold here. It's blizzardy and wind chill is at or below zero. I was on the phone to a colleague in Alaska and said, how is it? And they said it's 20, 23, 28. It was about that here. And they were surprised to hear that. But since I'm getting, I'm going down south where let's see, how's that song? I'm going down south where I take it easy. I'm going down south no more. Do-do-do. Going down south where living is easy. I don't got nobody to please me. Something like that. That's Castro. Tommy Castro. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy C.
Hey.
So I have a colleague now who lives in Mongolia.
Whew.
And he was telling us the other day that his temperatures were in Fahrenheit minus 15, in Celsius minus 26. But just like how, like I was in Moscow in early December, and we had, let's see, minus 15 Celsius. That's 5 Fahrenheit.
Zero.
No, 5. No, close to 0 Fahrenheit. And it was just like, man,
hard to breathe.
No, thank you. Yeah, like you can walk around the city for 20 minutes, and then you need to seek some sort of shelter. And that was wild.
Crazy, man. So where'd you go? To get out of the cold?
No, just into a coffee shop or literally any clothing store or anything, like to get inside. And
did you go to any bars?
I did go to some bars, and I was disappointed because when when I was with the conference organizers, my Russian conference organizers, we would go out to the bars, and they would all order beer, and I would be like, what the fuck, man, where's the vodka? Like,
yeah,
I was told that when I came to Russia, there would just be vodka, vodka, vodka. And they were like, yeah, that's like what the older generation does, but yeah, sure, we'll order around. What the hell? And,
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's next generation stuff there. Well, that's interesting.
So
were the bars lively? Were they entertaining?
They were loud. It was the ones I was in it was either just loud because so many people were talking. There wasn't a lot of music per se.
There was a crowd. But
then there was like sports going on the screens and stuff, as you would, as an American, you would understand coming in a bar. But yeah, that's the coldest temperature I've been in.
So there's a Russian restaurant across the street from I think it's called the Washington Hotel in Washington, D.C. It's famous because that's where Ronald Reagan, and so the literally across the street from it on this hill is this ancient old Washington manor built in a Russian manner. M-A-N-N-E-R.
A manor built in the Russian manner, yes.
Yes, a manor built in the Russian manner.
Were they rushing when they were trying to build it?
No, they weren't. No. And when you walked in, it was a restaurant bar, and it was all the fuck about vodka. It was all about vodka. There were 75 different vodkas. The walls were lined with vodkas. And the interior, all the walls, all the furniture were bright red. And so you were in a strange atmosphere. And
I learned so much about the Russian symbolism when I was there that I did not know about. The different number of stars and the two-headed eagle and those things that are like core to the Russian symbolism and stuff that I imagine were I to go to a Russian themed, authentically themed place, that symbolism would just be all over the place.
Yeah, sure.
That reminds me a little bit of, have I told you the story about when I was in Antwerp, Belgium, and I went into a gin bar? Is that
where you worked out and drank?
No, not a gym bar. Gin.
Or you had to be Jim. Your name had to be Jim.
Yes.
To get in.
Yes. And it was just me and a friend who were there, and we had an hour and a half to kill before we were going to meet up with another friend. And so we went into this bar, and they had like 150 types of gin, because gin originates from Belgium, from the lowlands of Europe.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like whenever you think gin, the city that comes to mind is London, right? Because apparently London gin is like a type of gin. It's not related to where it's from. So like you can make London gin in a place that's not London. But anyway, and it was this dark little place, and there was like 45 pages in the menu to choose whatever the fuck gin you wanted. And
what'd you get?
But it was semi full of locals sitting at tables with little shot glasses of gin, and it was sipping gin. Like it was all pure gin. There's no mixing anything, and you would choose your gin, and you would have your little sipping shot glass and sip from it for a while, and then I guess order another round or whatever. But
try different kinds.
And what
was the temperature of the liquor?
Room temperature. And so it's just a totally different world to what, like in Spain and England, if you get something with gin, you're mixing it with something, and it's going to be on ice.
Gin and grapefruit is it's about the only time I drink gin. And that's before when I could actually drink grape juice. Now it's not allowed in my diet. So I don't drink much gin, but I'd enjoy that. It reminds me of going to a martini bar, and I got a anchovy stuffed green olive martini. And I was real happy with it. But otherwise I wouldn't have, if I had been at a martini bar, I wouldn't have gone there.
As you may recall, anchovies is the local delicacy where I live. There are plenty of, actually, no. In Spain, your olives are generally not pitted. They're not stuffed. Like your olives have the pits in them. And so however, you can get olives that are pitted and stuffed with stuff. And anchovy is a common thing. But also anchovy flavored olives is a thing. I don't know how they do that. I just like soak them in the water with some anchovy remnants or whatever. So, some fish heads.
Well, anchovies don't look much more than a sliver of some other fish. I've been eating them every other day here on the Caesar salad that I make. And they're in a jar, oil, wonderful, from Italy. And
I need to bring you some of my local anchovies.
Oh, yeah.
If only I was going to be seeing you soon. Convenient. Oh. Well, let's see. So tomorrow I won't remember having said that, but that future editing Eric will maybe make a note.
You just went all blurry, man. What did you do?
No, I've had this problem lately with my webcam that it goes blurry and stuff, and it's not related to my sense of cognitive function. Yeah, that also goes blurry and comes back. But this week I've been interviewing some people for a job.
Really? To work for you? To work with you?
To work with me, yeah. And I've made it to this point in my career without having approached management, as many people my age have. But it's strange to be on that side of the interview, to be like...
I've done a lot of it.
I'm sure you have, but just be like, so why should I consider you?
Yeah. I have a story. To tell you about an interview. But go ahead. And so how'd it go?
Good. It had already been by someone who had interviewed like 25 people. They had narrowed it down to 2 people to show me, which was nice. And they were both great. And I want both of them to work at my company, but I want one to be the boss of the other, if that makes sense. Like one of them knows a little bit more, and the other one has skills that would be really useful, but isn't quite as analytical. And anyway, a couple hours ago, the one that I wanted to be the junior sent an email saying, I would like to withdraw my application. So whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
God, you know what you learn from that? Don't let people meet you before they decide. Get somebody else to, because that's probably what it was. Because listen, he was interested till he met you, and then he met you, and then he's, I'm not interested. Right. I mean, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but send him a questionnaire, man.
I'm confused why it was she.
Oh,
why she had her doubts, because she is apparently a psychic and like talks to the stars and stuff, which I did not know before the interview, thankfully.
You're not, this isn't heading to a punchline.
No.
It sure sounds like a joke you've told once or twice.
No, if you're such a psychic,
why don't you tell me? Is that the punchline?
No, the joke is this something about the psychic that never saw her business going out of, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, that was a fun thing this week that I had. And I consumed an entire series on Netflix that I could talk about. What have you been up to? You had a story.
Yeah, I do. I do have a story, interview story, but I will tell you that
Before that, you got a story.
Yes, I do. I will get back to it. But that I chanced on as I was thumbing through things, season 1, episode 1 of Ray Donovan.
Oh God.
One of so I'm into 3 or 4 seasons. and I know it's difficult to think about it, but I started carrying a bat around, again, a baseball bat. And I don't know.
It's okay to go back and watch series that you have loved, because you forget about them. Like,
oh yeah.
In the last episode, you were jealous, not the last, but in one of the previous, you were jealous of my having gone back to watch Succession from the beginning. And you were like, damn, I bet I could enjoy that whole story.
And it's interesting that that was necessarily on the front of my mind, but I decided, because of the dearth of new series at this point in the year, that when I came upon it, I said, all right, cool. And so I binged on that rather than go back to Succession. I think in many respects, Succession would be much more entertaining to me. I love Ray Donovan, but I know all about Ray Donovan for 12 years of episodes. So this is going in their 3rd season. And to go back to the beginning is in fact the beginning, and not a bad way to spend time. But the other thing I've been doing is watching some football. Buffalo Bills, back. The only team in the history of the National Football League that went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, year after year after year after year, and never won any of them.
That was in like the 80s or something?
On the horizon. Pardon?
When was that?
Yeah, 80s. Yeah, 80s, right? 82, 3, 4, somewhere around there. But so they got a quarterback who's 6'5" and goes 260. It takes 2-3 guys to tackle him sometimes. When he throws, he's standing straight up, shooting it.
Shit. Destroying his microphone. Nope. We lost you. Plug your mic back in, boy. Can't hear you. Plug her back in. Quarterback. Shit. So, big boy Buffalo Bill quarterback.
Josh Allen, like Superman. 5 times he had the ball, 5 times they scored touchdowns.
Damn.
First half. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. First time in the history of the franchise. And he was like Superman, running it, passing it. And now we're down to getting the finalists. In the meantime, as if you give a fuck, but Matthew Stafford, who got traded out of the Lions, playing for LA Rams, won his first playoff game and his 4th try, and is moving forward and gets to play Tom Brady and the Buccaneers coming up for a playoff. So that ought to be a hot number. And check this. My Buffalo Bills are playing my brother's Kansas City Chiefs. And there's 3 brothers who want the Bills, and only he stands alone wanting Kansas City. And we're hoping for a big movement. It could be one of my 2 favorite teams in the Super Bowl. That would be great. It hasn't happened for a long time. I usually don't give a shit who's in the Super Bowl. It's interesting, but Buffalo, I'm not all excited.
Where does the name Buffalo Bills come from?
Buffalo, New York.
Obviously, yes. I understand that part. The Bills part?
Oh, their symbol is a bison.
Yeah.
And the first bison, according to Indian legend, they're all named Bill. So that goes back a long way.
Are you familiar with the longest English sentence using only one word?
No.
Hold on, let me pull this up so that I say it the proper number of times. So the longest English sentence with a single word is buffalo. Period. So
that's pretty astounding. I suppose there's more to it than just repeating.
No, some of them are capitalized. The verb to buffalo means to confuse or to scare somebody, like as I buffalo you repeatedly.
Right.
And then there's the animal called buffalo, and then there's the city called Buffalo, New York. So the idea is that it can be translated. I've seen it translated in a nice way, but generally it means that bison from the city of Buffalo bully other bison from the city of Buffalo, and they also bully other bison from the city of Buffalo. So that's the general, like it's been diagrammed.
Okay, say it again, slower.
Buffalo, 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 buffalo.
I'd have to see which was caps and which was capped and which wasn't. Yeah. Maybe I could figure out, but it sounds interesting.
Anyway, this will be in the show notes.
Being from that area, it's interesting. I'll send it on with some of my brother. Speaking of entries, I sent you
141.
I sent you a little video clip just moments before we started. Did you happen to see it?
I happened to press play on it and saw that it was Will Ferrell, I think, doing something. But then, like, you called and I was like, oh, I need to shut down everything and talk to my friend.
So the only other actor in the little mini movie is 2 years old, and she's playing a cop. Farrell is really afraid of her because of what she's saying to him.
Are they in the same room, or is like he responding to YouTube video? I'm sure you would see it more the latter than the former, but it's a good question. Yeah, because you can do some amazing comedy with taking a video of some little kid being like, you don't tell me what to do or whatever, and then splicing in adult responses to that, which is basically what this podcast is. Because
I know I can't believe the empathy that you have for me, for what I have to go through. You're right. It's a struggle.
Wait, which one are you? Are you the petulant 2-year-old?
Sometimes it's all I can do to turn my computer on.
Are you the petulant 2-year-old? Or are you the one that's splicing in all of the clever remarks?
I don't have to answer that.
Who can tell? Exactly. Well done. That's exactly what a comedian.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know, and you don't know
either. So
there you go.
Here we are.
I have a selection for my talent contest.
As do I.
Now there's 2 entries allowed, and I'm not sure.
Do you have two whole dollars to afford that?
I'll scrape it together.
All right. After poker night.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. But I want to know if you go from one to the other and you do 2 at once, or whether you do one and then later you do another one. I suppose that's up to the MC, and I am the MC, so
I don't want 2 from the same person
right away
in a row. No. There's only so much Dr. Pud that you can take before you need a respite.
Or any of us, for that matter.
Indeed. Yes, I've put together 2 numbers based on songs by, I think the original authors are listed as Lennon McCartney. Are my sources of inspiration. So we'll see how well that goes.
The old standards. I've got a dance number that I've alerted you to.
Yes.
And I probably only need a piano player.
Do I need a physical dagger to dance to Mac the Knife? Or
if I got an encore, I might do Mac the Knife, but I'm thinking about doing something from Whatever Lola Wants, Lola Gets. And it's an old tune.
Do I need to practice my knife throwing for the Mac the Knife?
No, this is a different tune. But no, there'd be no knives, and you blurt out again, so it's discomfiting.
That's both mentally and visually.
Which matches your mood.
I don't know why my camera goes blurry like that. With the beautiful face that I have.
I think the more beer you drink. What are you drinking?
I am prepared to start drinking the last of my Christmas Abbey ales. This one with so normally the bottle that has this has an Abbey monk doing this exact same sort of head turn. And for Christmas, they put the snow in the background and the Santa hat on him. But
cool. Cool. I'm at my new favorite, Anchor Steam Beer, San Francisco since 1896. And I actually went to...
you would be embarrassed by how old this Abbey has been producing beer, but whatever.
How long?
Yeah, it doesn't actually say on the bottle, but for sure before that.
1492.
At least, yes.
The monks, etc. Here's to you, old chum.
Hold on. Cheers, mate.
No, it's too late. I already chose. Oh, wait a second. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Do you have to drink again? Guy kind of looks like you. All right.
Clink.
Clank. Yes.
So I got time for quick beer. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and the Old Dog Saloon was open. And so I stopped in because they sell this Anchor Steam beer on tap, and go in and get it. And there's the owner, and he starts talking this or that. And there's another guy sitting in between us who was shorter, kind of pudgy, and wild, long gray hair and a really long gray beard. And he sat in between me and the owner, who's a big strapping guy, who's a carpenter, construction worker, and just does some amazing shit. And I've known him for a while in this old bar. And we're talking back and forth. He's got a couple of dogs that need to be put down and always trying to feed him. And
Hence the name of the story. Hence the name of the bar.
Now that you mention it, it is quite pertinent, isn't it?
It's not the Young Puppy Saloon.
And when you call them and they leave a message, what plays out is ruff, ruff, ruff. Who let the dogs out? Ruff, 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 ruff. Yeah, of course. And he tells a story about the Steinbeck novel of Mice and Men and how he left it for someone to read. And when they read it, they couldn't believe it. I think it was his spouse, his partner, who I also know, who's wonderful, running the bar. And and so I said, hey, that book just came up in a Stephen King novel that I just finished.
Oh, no shit.
Is about the JFK assassination, and the guy who's in it, who can go back in time, is an English teacher. And when he goes back to 1958, where he's going to trace Oswald for 5 years prior leading up to, in what essentially is a 2-minute time span, because when he walks back into the present, it's exactly 2 minutes later. Doesn't matter how long he's gone, but he comes back aged. So if he broke his bones, he's come back broken bone. And so we started chatting about that. This other guy shows up and sits down and he's listening, and he's got a story. Everybody's got a story about what they were doing when Kennedy was assassinated. Sure. And suddenly the guy in the middle looks up and he said, man, oh man, he said, you talking to somebody who has been doing research on Lee Harvey Oswald since 1983, and I am so significantly involved that I was warned several times to stay away from it. And when I started saying stuff that I knew from a 690-page novel that Stephen King meticulously researched, this guy could finish my sentences.
I love it.
But he had these explanations, which were conspiratorial, of course, as I believe is the case. And we got into a crazy conversation about stuff. And at one point, he said to me, that's because they took an atomizer and it was a spray and they infected him with cancer. That's how Jack Ruby died. And I went, whoa. So I got to go. I mean, I've had a beer. I want to move on anyway. I go and I talk to the owner a moment. And as I'm saying goodbye to this guy, he says, look into it, And I said, listen, I want you to read this book, because Stephen King's novel is premised on the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was a single gunman, and he thoroughly believes it. So in the afterward, and it flies in the face of everything that I believe. And so this dude, and I said to him, and I said to these four guys, the four of us, I said, hey, let's start a book club. You guys read this, and we'll come in here once a month, and we'll talk about this. And everybody agreed to do it, but with no firm date on the next event. But I did finish it, and
I'm so pleased to be the initiator of this story.
Yes, your Christmas gift, as spoken. And here's the interesting thing: is that I really do need some type of chiropractic service at the least, because my shoulder is roughed up from having to hold this book up as propped up in bed.
It wasn't paperback; it was hardback.
It was paperback, but it was so thick and so heavy. It kept sliding off the pillow and landing on my chest and wrenched my shoulder.
Oh, man.
Well, big...
I'm not taking blame for that, but taking credit for the thought.
I read every page.
So
it was never too much.
This is one of my favorites of all the time travel stories. This is one of my favorites because of this. I love the restriction to the narrative where when you go back and everything is like reset,
yes, and
that's exactly, you go back and you fuck up, and fine, you fuck up, but you can come back through the refrigerator or whatever the hole was in the wall. But if you go back, it's like you can do it again, and you can do this. I love this. Anyone who's ever played a video game knows this idea of, okay, I'm going to save my position right now, and then I'm going to go and try something really difficult. And if I fail, I can always come back to this safe position here. And it's very much that sort of scenario but then like they introduce the whole thing of like, oh, you fall in love and you live and you get married, and you live years with a woman that you love. And then you go back through the hole and you like erase all of that. And that, I love stories like that where it's just,
there.
God, I hope any of that got recorded. We'll see.
Yeah, you just froze, man.
Yeah, my Zoom crashed.
Oh.
So yeah, I love that concept of if your Zoom is going to crash, like you can go back and start from where it wasn't crashing. And in many ways, there's a lot of like all the good time travel stories are aimed at the people. Like I said this about the Stand By Me thing, where it came out 30 years after it was set, and how it's aimed at the people that now have spending money to go and see a movie that grew up at the time that was set. And this, I probably a little bit later.
What was the year? Let me interrupt. Do you know the year of Stand By Me?
That it came out or that it was set?
No, it's set.
It's set in the late 50s and came out in the late 80s.
Yeah, well, and that's me.
Exactly. And so that this novel was set in a way that, and like, for one, it sets just the title, the cover of the novel. There are people that will look at that title and know what it's about. But then there are people like me that didn't live that day and don't know what 11/3/69 is, or whatever it is.
11/22/63.
There you go. See, so that to me doesn't mean anything in a way that 9/11/2001 doesn't mean anything to my children, but it's fascinating. And perhaps in 20 years, there will be a novel written about someone time traveling back to 9/11.
Yeah.
And trying to stop that particular thing.
Yeah. It was his approach to this was, he had a lot to say about this. And he ruminated for over 40 years because he started it. He wrote 14 single-spaced pages, 1963, and stopped and set it down. And then a couple of years ago, he worked for 13 months and wrote what became the published novel. So what I enjoyed about it is that he wasn't in a hurry to tell the story, and it had a richness to it that was never boring. I never wished that let's get on with it. It's like I started thumbing through and I'm going to skip a couple of pages. I just read it, and
no one's a better storyteller than Stephen fucking King. Like, he's a master at that.
When did this book get first?
Like 10 years ago?
Oh, it's that long ago. I think I referred to it as new the other day. That's not the case.
What is it? 11? What's the title?
11/22/63.
11/22. It no, you're wrong.
Wrong? What the fuck? I got Kennedy's death wrong. That's not good.
Yeah, 11/23/63. You're right. It's just Wikipedia failed me. This it came out in 2016. No, hold on. That's when the TV show came out. The novel was released in 2011. So 10 years ago.
Well, so I got to tell you, the discussion at the bar when this dude had been researching this since 1983, the stuff he started saying, I went home, I cooked myself some quick salad, romaine, Parmesan dressing, and nice oiled anchovies, Parmesan, fresh Parmesan, and sat down and Googled, checked out what was going on, and came across none other than JFK Through the Looking Glass, directed by Oliver Stone. And it was this, I finished the book, I ran into the guy, I saw the JFK all in a span of 24 hours.
Nice. So the TV show, it was a miniseries with 8 episodes with the theme music composed by J.J. Abrams and executive produced by J.J. Abrams. It came out in 2011. No, it came out in 2000. Based on the 2011 novel, came out in 2016. Starring,
who carries it?
The protagonist, which I have told you before, is played by James Franco, who really? I would not have pictured when I was reading the book, but he does a pretty darn good job. And and a bunch of other actors that I don't recognize the names of play Al Templeton and Sadie Dunhill and Oswald and whatnot. But that's now that you have read the book, the miniseries is worth checking out.
And where can I find it?
It premiered on Hulu, and I don't know where you can find it now.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I immediately picked up my next book and I moved on into a new, rather fascinating novel. But I was pretty surprised at how quickly I read it.
Knowing you, I knew that was an appropriate gift. So I'm pleased.
And my bookmark, of course, was your note that said, "Happy birthday," or "Merry Christmas, motherfucker." podcast crew, happy hour.
I thought that was appropriate.
It was the most. Oh, did I tell you the story? How I found it?
No, because you told me quite late. Like Amazon told me it has been delivered, and then 4 days go by. And
so when you're walking up the little walkway to my house, there's a front door, and off to the right there's a fence, and off to the left there's a driveway. And sometimes the front door's not open, so they'll walk around the left, go up my driveway, go through my gate, and put it on my back porch, back steps. One day, I'm out in the backyard, and I go to my side yard, and I approach the area where that fence is stretched across the yard near my front yard, and they're sitting on top of my air conditioning unit, which is reachable by leaning over the fence, is a package. Huh. And I said, "What the fuck is this? What idiot decided this was the place to put it?" Like, I'm over in this corner of the house a lot, and the thing is, there's a path that goes to the left of my door to the backyard. It's not like impenetrable. It's not, oh man, I wonder which way most people go. They were in a hurry. And so I was surprised it was for me, because most packages are for my wife. She gets a lot, and ripped it open. And I couldn't believe it. Oh, I was thrilled.
I'm glad it was a thing for you.
I was thrilled. I said, "Oh my God, look at the size of this book. Let's start reading it." Too much fun.
I watched a series this weekend. It's the third season of Afterlife. You have not heard of this because you don't have Netflix.
Yes, it's
because you read the news and the entertainment news and these things. It was like the first two seasons, just amazing. He does this trick of making grief funny, but also like super poignant. And he, like, his character in the entire series is grieving over the loss of his wife. And he goes through different levels of, I don't give a fuck if I die, to, well, maybe I should help someone. And in one season, he like helps this other guy that is suicidal. Like, he helps him succeed in his suicide. Yeah, it gets fucking dark. But he paints this picture of these people in this no-name village of England who are like, they're just all losers. And every single episode, because the character is that his character works at the local newspaper. And so he is sent out on these assignments to go and interview people where something novel has happened to them. And sometimes it's this 80-year-old man who has received 3 of the identical Christmas card from the local shops from 3 different people. And it's just like, what a coincidence that 3 different people sent me the same Christmas card. Like, it's all this stupid non-news that he has to go and cover. And he's always so fucking cynical about it. He's, yeah, okay, whatever. I guess I'll write a story about this, whatever. And it's just so, it makes you feel good. Like, it's important to understand two things, both how shitty everyone else's life is, but also how in their shitty lives they can find little moments of joy. Uh-huh. And that's so instructive to realize that, yeah, these people they live in these filthy houses, and yet when they have 3 tulips blossom on the same day, they're like, oh my God, I got to call the local newspaper. And this sort of level, let's lower our fucking expectations for what it means to be happy. But at the same time, he's like thinking to himself and expressing that I will never be as happy as I was. Where is my new normal of happy? And anyway, it's a beautiful, there are so many psychological and philosophical things to take from it. And it's so, I don't know, rarely has a TV show made me laugh and cry quite that hard. Like the final episode, my wife and I were like, we needed a lot of tissue paper. Oh, it was fucking dark.
Good for you.
But like dark in a beautiful way. But, anyway, so much like our episodes.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I got a new cover for my bed of my truck. and it's no, it's black.
Okay.
It's a trifold. And I said, does it lock? And the guy said, it doesn't lock by itself, but if your tailgate locks, then it locks because you can't move this thing unless your tailgate is open. Otherwise, and I ran around. I said, no, I don't know. I never really checked. And I ran around and I looked at the little latch thing at the back of my truck, the gate of my truck, and said, oh, it does have a key. All right, cool. So
so by lock, you mean like with a key, not locking like a...
No, lock with a key, the tailgate. And I
you're worried about someone stealing your
my fishing gear, my golf
cover.
clubs, whatever. I don't want people in my shit.
Oh, no. Okay. So it's not a thing that is a protective cover for the bed. It's a thing that protects your shit inside
cover.
it. Okay.
It's called a tenu. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but it's tenu or tenau cover, whatever the fuck that means. But it's
I'm sure that's racist to some tribe somewhere.
Whatever. It's a soft cover. $400, $420, something like that. And so I go out. Yeah, right. I go out and I go to lock it. I said, let me make sure this lock works back here. And the guy's showing me how to fold it up. It takes 2 minutes. And I go and I look and come to find out that what I thought was a keyhole was in fact the camera for my backup mechanism in my truck. Exactly the same size as the keyhole, but missing, of course,
the hole,
any ability to insert anything. So I said, oh, shit.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, don't you hate it when what you think is a keyhole is really a hidden camera?
Yeah, come to think of it, that's not good. And so the guy said, oh, he said, I can switch it out for you for $160. And I said, then I lose my backup. I said, and then by the time I got home, I said, I got to do this. I don't want to worry about somebody going in the back of my truck.
So you destroyed your back eye hole?
No, I don't destroy it. I just cap it. It can be rewired anytime in the future. In the box that the new one comes in, the old one goes in it, gets wrap dated and stuck in the glove box or behind the seat for the rest of fucking eternity.
So when you're backing up, you're like a pirate with an eye patch.
Well, there's a window in the back of the truck. It's not like I can't see. There's
but it's not the same as a camera there.
No, of course not. But it's not like I'm helpless and it's some kind of a panel van where I can't see out the back. It's not particularly difficult. But the thing is, I care more about the fucking lock in the back of the truck than I do being able to see something when I back up.
The van that I was driving in the Canary Islands, it like the dashboard was like very the same as something from 20 years ago. But when you were in reverse, in the rear view mirror, there was a little part that turned into a screen that would show the rear view camera, which was useful.
That's what this is.
I've never seen a screen in a mirror like that.
That's what this is.
Okay.
How about that? That's harmony. Harmonic.
But then you're covering your rear hole.
I don't want any further explanation. I think you should stop right there, mister.
Okay. You would prefer more freedom in going backwards than you would in who's back there. That's fine.
Huh? Hey, what Beatles tunes are you going to be singing?
Oh, I don't know if I should reveal that. It seems like one of them is called Bless the Committee. And the other one is called Myrtle Beach in my rewriting. So
you're rewriting two original tunes.
Right. They will be performed. They need revising, obviously, but it's not, I don't know. I think should be a secret. And maybe you could do a dance or something to one of them, but I don't know that I need backup. For sure, there's one where the chorus is obvious and should be accompanied by everyone involved. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
So you and I will not meet next week. And
actually, I've changed my plans. I will be here next week.
Holy shit. Okay.
I'm going to tack on a couple of the days of the trip at the end of the Myrtle Beach Classic and opt for post Myrtle Beach time in Topsail.
I can't imagine that's the Wednesday when we will not be together. You'll be on the road, not next week, but the week after. That's not going to happen. So I don't know that we're going to be able to record together unless we
Why, are you gone next week?
No, next week I'm here.
Oh, and then that's it for...
But the following week, we're not going to be.
Right.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Is time up already?
I don't know, man. We can talk about another thing. I've been watching. So after my Afterlife binge, I went. Netflix was like, hey, man, you clearly like Ricky Gervais. And I rewatched his 2015, I think, special called Humanity, where he it's just a stand-up special, but he had some solid jokes there. He had one that I was just watching before we started, where he talks about after you're 50, like everyone tells you that, yeah, when you get to 50, like things slow down, you're not so energetic and your body hurts. But he says what they don't tell you is how low your testicles fall, which is a thing that we've talked about.
Yes, all too frequently.
And he relates the story of being like the older he's gotten, the richer he's gotten. And so now like he has this really enormous bathtub that he likes to lie in. And he noticed that it's 2 feet deep. Like he's lying with his butt on the ground and he noticed that his testicles were like floating up at the top. And at first he was like, wait a minute, testicles aren't supposed to float. Let's
oh god, like bobbers, hairy bobbers.
Let's push these down, but then they popped right back up. Anyway, it was a great
too funny.
A great particular bit about that and getting older. But most of what he was talking about was how comedians should be able to joke about ugly topics. And just because you're joking about rape, for example, like there are funny jokes about there are funny jokes about the Holocaust that can be funny without endorsing what they're joking about. Right. And he goes around and around this, and it's very interesting. Like that, it's sad that there are people that if you mention X, they will refuse to engage with whatever you're talking about because X is a horrible thing. But like you can make no, the Holocaust is not funny. No, rape is not funny, but there are jokes around it that can be funny. And that fine line that comedians have to ride.
Yeah. Ricky Gervais is one who pushes the envelope. I see his stand-up bits on YouTube all the time, and he's out of his mind he'll say any damn thing.
But he's thought it all out in a way that what he's saying it should not be offensive according to him. And I've heard him discuss these things like in a serious context before, where he talks about how, you should be able to. Okay, so one example that he gave, he said that this came from his older brother. He said that this woman came down to the police station and she complained and she reported that she had been raped. And the police officer said, "Don't you mean raped?" And she said, "No, there were a bunch of them." and he explains that this is a joke about a really horrible thing, but it's not like endorsing the really funny thing. It's a play on words around it. And that's what makes it acceptable.
It is in fact making fun of it.
Exactly. And
which right. And so you're
not making fun of the victim, you're making fun of the act itself.
Yeah.
Or something. But anyway, I found that really thought-provoking because that comedians, man, they literally have to just live on that edge. And I've recently been listening to a podcast by a couple of stand-up comedians, and they talk about how because of the nature of their work, they have a hard time if they're say they're on an airplane or something and they're talking to the person next to them or something, but then they overhear the person across the aisle saying, "My boyfriend broke up with me and this and this." They no longer can pay attention to the person that they wanted to pay attention to because they have to be listening to this other story to gain this material about the human experience, about to be able to jokes about it. Yeah. Anyway, that's about all I've got. I'm out. Is there no tool of the week this week besides?
Insulating an attic space with styrofoam that has a silver lining on one side of it and has a very thin plastic on the other, and it's about an inch thick. And I'm cutting it into place. There's two tools that come to mind. One is that before I affix the panel of styrofoam to the wall or to the ceiling, I spray it with an adhesive spray, double mask, and spray it, stick it. That's tool number one. Tool number two is
tool number one is the spray?
The spray itself. Tool number two is the special tape that you use to put it over the top of that to join the seams. Mm-hmm. And it's called blocket tape. And so I put it together. So of the two, I would have to say the tape because I used a different kind of tape.
Hey, the tape wins.
Which was 1/10 the cost. And it was such a pain in the ass that when I went to the more expensive tape, I said, now I know why it's worth it. Zip, 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 zip. Yeah. Just we had technical difficulties tonight. You're going to have to do some splicing and dicing.
I'm going to need some tape to get this episode together. Am I right?
You're right. Hey, and here's a hi ho to Bob Saget. Speaking of stand-up comedians, too young.
Yeah, I agree.
Too young. With that, we're out. Love you, man. See you next week.
See you next week, bro. Okay, that's it for episode number 141. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/141. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. We would very much appreciate that. And after the next episode, Dennis and I are going to be actually in the same place together, which is going to be delightful. We'll see you next week.